What's up, guys? We are back with Week 9 Thursday Night Football action. We're going to do a deep dive on the Houston Texans going on the road to take on the New York Jets, and we're going to go over all 4 NBA games on this Thursday slate. We're going to see what kind of value we can find on the side and on the total, and we're going to take a good hard look at the player props here for Thursday night. If you want to win all of your Thursday bets, guys, hit that like button. It's good luck and shows support for the channel and all the hard work we're putting in every single day. Big shout out for my guy Andrew Choi 857 for the $10 donation from back on Saturday. Really appreciate you, man. Let's see if we can find some more wins. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on our daily content. You can also now sign up for a channel membership by clicking the little join button right below the video. Members get exclusive early access to all NFL and college football videos and get their names up on screen just like right now. I really appreciate the support from all of you. Seeing that little badge next to your comments absolutely warms my heart. Our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. We have a team of experienced cappers over there for every major sport, currently covering NFL, college football, NBA, UFC, NHL, and the MLB. This is one of the best times of the year to be in the mix with so many sports going on. Click the link in the description if you're interested in signing up and also to join our free email list to get the occasional free or premium pick straight to your inbox. Comment below with any bets you're looking at today and we will give you our best advice on all of them. We are committed to responding to every single comment every day, so let us know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. As always, our favorite picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into this Monday Night Football matchup between the Houston Texans and the New York Jets. The Texans, guys, they come into this game 6-2 on the season, fresh off of a solid but very close 23-20 win there over the Colts last week. We saw CJ Stroud have a pretty good game, 25 of 37 for 285 yards, so not awful numbers there. He had 1 touchdown pass, no interceptions, which is really, really nice. He was sacked twice in the game, but overall a very nice night there for CJ Stroud. Playing at home, you can count on him to always have a good night, and while he will be playing on the road here against the Jets, I don't think there's really too much reason to panic. He's obviously still, a very young guy, very early in his career, but we're seeing some maturity this season, and I think that is going to translate into more success here on the road. The running game for Houston continues to be very, very important now that Joe Mixon is back. Things are cruising. Mixon had 25 carry performance there against the Colts, 102 yards and a touchdown out there. His longest carry was 21 yards, which kind of just shows you that, he is going to be putting up positive yards basically every time you hand him the ball. Houston's looking like a pretty good run blocking team as well. That helps him out a good amount, and just loving right now what we're seeing from Joe Mixon, who he's even becoming more active there in the passing game. He caught 4 passes there on 6 targets for 32 yards, so not bad work there in the passing game either. Definitely a dynamic guy. You just want to get the ball in his hands however you can, and he will take care of the rest. In the wide receiver room, guys, we're having some problems here for Houston. Stephon Diggs is coming off of a big game, but he will not be out there. He is out for the rest of the season there with a torn ACL. We also still won't have Nico Collins back, so going to be leaning here pretty heavily on Dalton Schultz and Tank Dell, both of whom had pretty decent days there. I mean, we saw Tank Dell catch all 4 of his targets and have a touchdown pass there against the Colts. So I do think these two guys are, capable of stepping up here. Some very big shoes to fill, absolutely no doubt about that. But I don't think CJ Stroud's going to have too big of a problem here adjusting to just having those couple wide receivers. And the Houston Texans want to be running the ball anyway. The more times they give it to Joe Mixon, it seems like the better they like it. So still expecting pretty good things from the Houston offense coming into this game. Despite the fact they're playing on the road, I'm not too shaken up about that. On defense, guys, how do we feel about the Texans? Well, they're coming off a game they gave up 20 points. On the season, they're right there around, NFL average, giving up 22.4 points per game. In this win over the Colts, we did see them pick off Anthony Richardson once. They also had 5 sacks in the game, which has to feel great. They did struggle a little bit there against Jonathan Taylor, who had 105 yards on 20 carries. But, guys, I think we have to feel pretty okay about this defense. They didn't look great against Josh Downs, but they didn't give up hardly anything to any other receiver. And, yeah, all of his yards pretty much came in one big chunk. They forced a couple of fumbles there from Anthony Richardson, so that'd feel good. And when you put up 2 turnovers in a game as a defense and have 5 sacks, and only give up 20 points, you expect to win that game the vast majority of the time, and that is sure enough what they got. So I think we can feel pretty decent about this Houston Texans defense. Not one that I have a ton of questions about, but also not a defense I'm going to regard as, like ultra elite or anything like that. And the question kind of is, will they need to be ultra elite in this matchup as they go on the road here to take on the New York Jets, who are having quite a nightmare season so far. They're 2-6 on the year. Their only wins came at Tennessee and then against the New England Patriots. Patriots. The last 5 games in a row have all been losses. They lost 10-9 against Denver back before Denver started looking good. They played a close game against Minnesota but lost, a close game against Buffalo and lost. They got blown out at Pittsburgh, and then last week, guys, they managed to find a way to lose at New England 25-22, and what was supposed to just be a get right spot there for the Jets, but that is not what happened, guys. Some things had to go wrong, but they didn't help themselves too much. We did see Aaron Rodgers have a little bit better of a day. No interceptions. He was sacked once, but completed 17 of 28 passes for 233 yards. So, not transcendent numbers by any stretch, but decent stuff. We did see the running game kind of get online a little bit. I mean, Breece Hall, 16 carries, 80 yards. Braylon Allen, 12 carries, 32 yards, and a touchdown. So some nice numbers there, albeit against a Patriots team that really isn't that great on either side of the ball. So not going to be really throwing a parade for them there. We did see very good stuff from Garrett Wilson, 5 receptions on 8 targets for 113 yards. Devontae Adams, an okay game, I guess, kind of. I mean, 4 catches on 6 targets for 54 yards. This hasn't been, the kind of production that, was envisioned here, this glorious reunion here between Devontae Adams and, Rodgers. This was supposed to be transcendently good. So far, it's looked fine. It hasn't looked incredible to me. So we'll see how things shape up there, but not necessarily in love with what I'm seeing from the Jets on offense. I don't think that's going to come as a huge shock to really anybody. I mean, on the season, guys, they are, close to the very bottom in rushing yards per game. They're 13th in passing yards for the game, and most importantly, guys, they are 25th in points for this season, only scoring 18.8 per game. So not necessarily in love with that. On defense, guys, we see the Jets, they are tied for 11th in the NFL, giving up 21.3 points per game against the New England Patriots, guys. They had a rough time stopping the run. They were fine against the pass, I guess, but yeah, I mean, when you're looking at Jacoby Brissett and Drake May, not exactly a dynamic, passing duo there. The Jets had a couple of sacks in the game. They didn't force a single turnover, though, so that's a little bit problematic. We saw no turnovers in the game, so, good stuff there for both teams, I suppose, but they, didn't have a very good time just in general. Just not looking like that dominant Jets defense we saw from a season ago, looking like some coaching issues out there, and just not a defense that you really feel like you can depend on. I mean, they've even had some mediocre games against some, pretty mediocre teams. I'm not going to say giving up 37 points at Pittsburgh is, insane, but also not a great look if you're wanting to be considered an elite defense. And the kicking situation from the Jets continues to be a disaster, guys. Zuerlein is going to be on the IR. They picked up 2 kickers. Do we trust either one of them? That is very, very much yet to be seen. So even the special team situation here for the Jets, not looking like one I'm in love with. So we're going to go ahead and look at both teams' injury reports now, guys. Starting with Houston, we've got lots of mixed news here for the Texans on offense, with Jarrett Patterson being questionable here on the offensive line. He's trying to come back from suffering a concussion in week 8, so he's going to have to make it through the concussion protocol. We'll see if that can happen here by Thursday. Mixon staying healthy, obviously a huge deal here, but Stephon Diggs now out for the season with that torn ACL, and Nico Collins still on the IR with a projected return on November 10th. This offense missing a couple of their best weapons out there. On defense, it was looking like the Houston secondary would be banged up for this game, but with everybody practicing already on Tuesday, it looks like this defense and the secondary are going to be either at full strength or very, very close to full strength here on Thursday. Now, guys, looking at the Jets injury report, on offense, it looks like Allen Lazard probably going to be out for this game with his chest injury. He has not practiced this week, but the idea would be that with Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams healthy, Lazard not being out there shouldn't be a huge deal. The right side of the offensive line is looking a bit sketchy here for the Jets, with a couple of guys questionable, and it really feels like they're very unlikely to have both of them go in this game. It could end up one of them plays, one of them doesn't, but there's a decent chance we see a couple of backups there, and the left side of the offensive line could be looking very, very questionable. On defense, guys, it appears that linebacker CJ Mosley will be out with his neck injury, and the secondary is very banged up with a couple of guys questionable as well. So we are not looking like the Jets, not looking at a full strength New York Jets offense or defense really for this game. In terms of the weather here on Thursday night, guys, obviously we're playing at the New York Jets. It looks like we're gonna have a bit of a rainy night with a chance of rain throughout the entire game. Temperatures are around 70 degrees, so we're not too worried about that, but it doesn't take a ton of rain to make the passing game feel a little bit weird and a little bit more risky. We're also looking at consistent 8-mile-per-hour winds with gusts up to 20 miles an hour, so it might be something of a rough night for super long passes or even medium to long distance kicks. Anything over 40 yards, guys, out there in this one, outdoors and a little bit of rain and with a significant amount of wind, those are not going to be chip shots out there. So we'll see how that goes, but definitely something you're going to want to be keeping in mind about this game. Looking at some trends here for these two teams, guys. Houston, they are 3-4-1 against the spread this season. They are 6-2 to the under. The Jets are 2-6 against the spread this season and 4-3-1 to the over. In terms of a side in this game, guys, it feels like kind of a big trap spot, but I definitely am taking the Texans right now. Houston's gotten off, to a little bit of a lucky start at a couple different points this season. This is a short week, and you have to travel here for Houston, so that's kind of tough, but it feels like the books might be trying to scare us away from Houston. The Jets and Rodgers have been so bad this season. On Thursdays, you generally don't have to worry too much about being on the public or non-public side. I don't think that's a huge concern because the public's actually been doing pretty well on these Thursday night games. I'm expecting big things here from Mixon in this matchup, and I think there's a huge coaching edge for the Houston Texans in this game, so definitely go ahead and give me Houston here at +2. This could get up to +2.5, so you might want to wait and see if you can get that better number, but I do like Houston in this game a very good amount. In terms of the over-under here, I'm leaning towards the under a little bit. It's not a huge number, don't get me wrong. Houston's going to be running the ball a lot for sure. The Jets' offense has looked so bad this season, and just hoping for a ton of points in this game where there could be a little bit of rain going on, some wind, feels a little bit sketchy to me, but overall, guys, the over-under on this one, not really a spot that I'm, super duper interested in. In terms of some player props for this game, guys, we've got a few interesting ones. First up, I think Dalton Schultz at 45+ receiving yards at -105 seems pretty reasonable to me. I mean, they're obviously running out of good wide receiver options there in Houston, so somebody's got to be catching these passes, and he's coming off of a decent game. I'm expecting some good stuff, some good production from him. He's going to get several balls his way. What he's able to do with them, that will determine whether or not we can win this bet, but 45 receiving yards, not going to take too many catches to get to that number. I would say, 4 catches out there, very easily we could get him to 45 yards. And kind of on the same side of that coin, guys, I like Tank Dell here at 60+ receiving yards, -105, a great price. He's expected to soak up a lot of targets here, with the top 2 wide receivers for this squad sidelined. Is this is a situation where I would bet both of these first 2 props? Probably not. I would probably pick one and stick with that, but I do think either one of these pretty reasonable, and both prices not bad at all in my opinion. Next up, guys, I like Mixon here. Joe Mixon, 25+ receiving yards at -115. In 3 out of the 5 weeks this season, he's had 25+ receiving yards, and he caught 4 passes there against the Colts, and I think we're going to see him have another productive night. That short passing game can be pretty nice, and they've got to throw the ball to somebody sometimes, and they are running out of wide receivers. So I think we can expect to see Mixon get to 25 receiving yards pretty easily, and he can get all of that in just one screen pass if some blocks go well, and he can make a guy miss, something that he's definitely capable of doing. And sticking with Joe Mixon here, 90+ rushing yards for Mixon at +135. That is a very good price. Obviously, running against the Jets is going to be tougher than running against the Colts, but he's been over 100 yards in 4 out of 5 weeks and over 100 yards in 3 consecutive weeks that he's been out there. So I love Mixon to have a big game in this one. I think we can see him get, to that 90+ number, and +135, that is a very, very good price, no doubt about that. Jumping over here to the Jets side, guys, Garrett Wilson over 59.5 receiving yards at -115. Devontae Adams not eating into his target share so far, so I think we can expect to see good stuff here from Wilson as, his connection with Rodgers continues to look pretty decent. Obviously, he's coming off of a big game there against the Patriots, albeit a game they managed to lose, but still, I think he's going to get enough targets and make enough catches there to get to 60 receiving yards. And right there with them, guys, Devontae Adams expected to continue to, get better and better here, on his new team with his old quarterback. Taking him over 59.5 receiving yards at +105 seems pretty reasonable to me as well. Just depends on which one of these guys you really trust more, but I do think, that connection with Rodgers is going to come back. We'll see Devontae Adams do some positive things out there. Obviously, the weather could be a little bit weird for this game, but I don't think it's a big enough concern. Rodgers has been throwing the ball in much worse weather for the vast majority of his career, so I think he's going to be just fine out there, and Devontae Adams was catching a lot of those balls in that bad weather, so I think either one of these guys to have a decent decent game catching the ball make plenty of sense. Now, guys, we're going to hop over to the NBA slate for tonight, but first, hey guys, jumping in here with a quick ad break. First of all, this is a great time to sign up at StumpTheSpread.com. Signing up for a premium membership gets you access to our entire team of cappers covering MLB, NCAA football, UFC, and the NFL. If you just want to test out the service, a great way to do that is by joining our free email list, which will get the occasional free or premium pick straight to your inbox. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new, and become a channel member for early access to all of our NCAA football and NFL videos. Now, guys, back to the games. Now, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at the Milwaukee Bucks going on the road here to take on the Memphis Grizzlies. The Bucks come into this game, guys. They are going to be, taking on a tired opponent here, but Milwaukee got their rest. They come into this game not having the best time this season. They are 1-3 overall. They just lost against the Boston Celtics. They're at Boston. They lost that one 119-108. So that probably doesn't feel too good, guys. I mean, Milwaukee should be kind of healthy coming into this game, although you see Giannis always on the injury report. Always got to check up on him. We see Chris Middleton still going to be sidelined for this game. Giannis technically probable for this one with, knee maintenance effectively. So we expect to see him play, but Middleton, not a guy we expect to see out there for this game. He's, still trying to make his season debut, which obviously has to be a little bit frustrating, still dealing with that ankle issue. And once he comes back, how good is that ankle going to feel? I certainly have my questions about that, guys. So we'll see how things go there in their game against the Celtics. Obviously, an 11-point loss there for the Bucks. We didn't, see that. I mean, Taurean Prince looked terrible in his 32 minutes, only, scoring 3 points. Giannis put up a 30-piece, 10 rebounds, 6 assists. He's doing his thing out there. Dame was getting to the line like crazy, had 18 free throw attempts, made 17 of them. He also had 7 assists and scored 33 points, but all of that was not enough, guys. Overall, we saw a terrible shooting game from deep for Milwaukee. They were only 8 of 31 from 3. You shoot 25% from 3 in an NBA game, you are usually going to be coming out on the short end there. And we saw the bench look terrible. Bobby Portis didn't do much in his 19 minutes off the pine, and really no one had a very good game coming off the bench. I mean, Connaughton, I guess, was 1 of 1 from 3 and knocked down a couple of free throws. But yeah, when you see your highest bench score score 5 points, that's not generally going to be a recipe for success, and the success is not something that's been finding the Milwaukee Bucks very often this season. So plenty of reason for concern here about Milwaukee, not necessarily expecting big things from them in this game or in this season, but it's an interesting spot, guys, because they're going on the road here to take on the Memphis Grizzlies, who come into this game, guys, fresh off of a very tough loss there against the Brooklyn Nets. They lost that game 119-106 last night, so they're going to be playing on back-to-back nights, and yeah, it's not the easiest thing to do, even though they're not having to travel. They're staying at home here, but yeah, definitely back-to-back nights on no rest, so definitely got to take a look at that injury report, see what they've got for us right now. Currently, it looks like we're going to see Marcus Smart and Desmond Bane, definitely here on that injury report. Are they going to be available for this game? Well, yeah, we saw Smart hurt his ankle there in that game against Brooklyn, so not going to be seeing him in this one, or at least it's very, very unlikely at the moment. And Desmond Bane went out of that game with an oblique injury, so it seems extremely unlikely that we'll see these two guys out there in this one. So, immediately Memphis going to be down a couple of their most important players. They're already short there on the bench with Luke Kennard being out, Vince Williams Jr. being out, so this is going to be far from a full-strength Memphis Grizzlies squad, and we didn't exactly love what we saw from them there against Brooklyn, a team you have to be expecting, to beat. You're a Western Conference, want to be a Western Conference playoff team. You cannot be losing games against teams like the Memphis Grizzlies, or against the Brooklyn Nets if you're the Memphis Grizzlies. And yeah, they just didn't look great out there. We saw Jaren Jackson Jr. continuing to play great, shoot the ball extremely well. He was 3 of 3 from deep, but nobody else had a very good shooting night, guys. Ja was only 1 of 6 from 3. He was only 5 of 16 from the field. I'm going to be honest, I love Ja Morant, but he's looking rusty here. All that time that he missed with injury, all that other time that he missed, he has not been playing enough, a top tier, high level NBA basketball. The dude is just not at 100% right now, which is fine. It's understandable. It's a long season. I expect him to work his way back into shape, and not shape, but, back into basketball playing mode, but it's going to take a little bit of time. And now without Smart and Bane for this one, it's going to be a really, really tough look out there for Memphis. Brandon Clark did look very good off the bench, so got to give him some credit there, but just not going to be a full strength Memphis Grizzlies team for this game. And looking at the numbers for this one, it makes some sense. We see that Grizzlies are getting 5 points here. We've got an over under of 225. Milwaukee, they're only 1-3 against the spread. They're 2-2 to the over under. Memphis 1-3 against the spread, 4-0 to the over. In general, guys, 225.5 does seem like a little bit much given how limited the Grizzlies team is going to be in terms of their scoring, and just in terms of, that's a lot of production to be missing out on. Do we want to be on Milwaukee here at -5? That feels almost crazy, but given this matchup, given the situation, definitely go ahead and put me on the Milwaukee Bucks. Memphis is just going to be way too short-handed for this game. In terms of the over-under, like I said, not a huge read on that one, but definitely think this is a spot you want to be on Milwaukee. Despite them being significant favorites, Memphis really has very few options left. Jumping in with our first ever sportsbook ad, guys, and I am super excited to tell you about BetOpenly. They are unlike any regular sportsbook out there. Their whole goal is to facilitate peer-to-peer betting, so instead of them having a vested interest in you winning or losing your bet, they just want to match you up with a real person who wants the opposite side. At BetOpenly, you will be paying drastically reduced juice on your bets, close to 1% instead of the 10% you would pay at any of the big guys. Not having to fight that built-in house edge sounds pretty great to me. BetOpenly supports all your favorite bets, including props and parlays, and get this, guys, you can even be the house on parlays, meaning you only need a single leg to win to cash your bet. Most importantly, BetOpenly will never limit your account for being a consistent winner, which is something that happens all the time on the bigger sites. If you're interested in signing up, click the referral link in the description of this video and let's cash some bets. Now, guys, back to the games. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Houston Rockets going on the road to take on the Dallas Mavericks. The Rockets come into this game 2-2 on the season. They are fresh off of a nice little 106-101 win there at the San Antonio Spurs. They split a little 2-game series there against San Antonio, so maybe not an amazing result. They did win against Memphis, so that's their 2 wins this season. They haven't played a tough schedule, and the fact that they're only 2-2 over that span, not looking super duper hot there for the Rockets, who come into this game pretty healthy. We've got Steven Adams listed as day-to-day, but I think we'll definitely, are likely to see him ready to go for this game. He's just working his way back from injury. There's no reason to, push it too much, but yeah, not super high on what we've seen from Houston thus far. I mean, I guess in that 106-101 win there over the Spurs, they did play well defensively, so that's something, but yeah, Jalen Green looking nuts out there, but aside from him, nobody having a particularly great offensive night. I guess we're not going to complain too much about Jabari Smith Jr. there. I mean, he was, shot 50% from 3, 5 of 8 from the field overall for 17 points. The bench did put up some decent plus-minus numbers, so you've got to love to see that. Steven Adams looking like a monster, doing all the things you expect him to do in, his return there. The Thompson twin out there looking pretty good, 7 points there in his 19 minutes. Just not a bench that I'm necessarily crazy about, but we're loving what we're seeing from, the young guys there in the starting lineup. It was a little bit of a down night for Sengun, but overall, guys, I do think there's all the pieces that this Rockets team needs to win. They just got to figure out how to put those pieces together, and we'll see if they can do that here against the Dallas Mavericks, who come into this game 3-1 on the season themselves, fresh off of a nice 120-114 win there over the Minnesota Timberwolves. Dallas comes into this game almost fully healthy. Maxi Kleber's still going to be out for a while with his constant injury issues, but other than that, things are looking pretty good in that win there at Minnesota. Definitely a very, very solid win, albeit against a Minnesota, the team that has not looked right so far this season. We saw very good stuff from Kyrie Irving, putting up a 35 spot there, 6 of 8 from deep. If his 3-point shot is falling, guys, there's really not too much you can do with him. Luka seemed, okay to take a little bit of a backseat, although he did get up 8 threes in the game and only made 1 of them, so that's a little bit of a concern, but still, guys, putting up good numbers. We, saw the Timberwolves didn't rebound the ball particularly well. The Mavs managed to stay up pretty much even there. The bench looked okay for Dallas as well. Grimes had a good game off the bench. Lively looked good off the bench. Dinwiddie shot the ball pretty poorly, but other than that, just not a lot to complain about here for the Mavs. They played a pretty good game in that one, and they come into this game pretty healthy. And looking at the numbers here, guys, we see Dallas is -5. We've got an over-under of 227.5. Houston 2-2 against the spread, 3-1 to the under. Dallas 2-2 against the spread, and 2-2 to that over/under. So first up, guys, we got an over/under out there of 227.5. I think this is probably an under spot. Not necessarily like these are two transcendently good defensive teams, but just doesn't feel like a spot we're going to see a crazy amount of offense. That being said, though, I definitely like the Dallas Mavericks here at -5. I think we'll see Luka be very motivated. Luka and Kyrie really going to be super motivated for this game. Dylan Brooks on the other side, he's going to get you fired up. He's going to try and play tough defense or dirty defense, depending on how you want to look at it. But regardless, I don't think it's going to be enough. I'm not loving what I'm seeing from Houston here in the early goings. Give me the Mavericks here at -5. Next up, guys, we've got a game that we don't have, lines out for yet, unfortunately, and it's because the Spurs are still playing there against OKC, not having a great time, but we'll see how that one finishes up. But yeah, we got San Antonio going on the road to take on the Utah Jazz. Spurs are going to be playing on back-to-back nights, coming off of a big game there against Oklahoma City, the big rivalry between Chet and Wemby. So we'll see how things finish up in that game. We don't have numbers for it yet, but we're going to go ahead and take a quick look. San Antonio has been having a great time this season, trying to adjust to some new parts, and yeah, it's tough to watch sometimes. The guys they have around Wemby still, Chris Paul being out there, great. Harrison Barnes being out there, great. Everybody else looks like they have no clue how to play with what is going to be one of the best players in NBA history when it's all said and done. Obviously, under the assumption that he can stay healthy. I'm very high on Wembanyama's future. Just right now, they don't have the pieces that they need to have around for him to find consistent success. On the other side, guys, we're looking at the Utah Jazz, who come into this game still looking for their first win of the season. They've played a tough early schedule, though, and they've played some close games. They lost by only 2 points on their opening night against the Grizzlies. They got blown out by the Warriors, kept things very close at Dallas, and then couldn't keep things very close against Sacramento. So time for them to have a winnable game here going up against, the San Antonio Spurs, who are going to be pretty tired for this one. In terms of the injury report here for Utah, guys, some concerning news. I mean, Lauri Markkanen being on the injury report, something you have to keep a very close eye on. He's dealing with some back issues, and he's questionable for this game, so we're not going to be going anywhere near this one until we know whether or not Markkanen's going to be playing. He left that Tuesday game against the Kings with back spasms. He's at risk of missing this game. If we're going to see more Kyle Filipowski and John Collins in this one, that is going to make this a much different looking game. So yeah, not going to be able to give you a pick on this one until we get clarity there on the injury situation and until we get some numbers. Obviously, San Antonio, they're 1-2 against the spread, 2-1 to the under. Utah 2-2 against the spread and 3-1 to the under. So guys, just make sure you check back on that pinned comment in this video, see if anything from this game ends up in there. It's definitely got a chance. We just can't really tell until we get the numbers. Next on the docket, guys, and last on the docket, guys, we got the Phoenix Suns going on the road to take on the LA Clippers. The Suns come into this game 3-1 on the season, so not having a terrible time. Their last game was a nice win there over the Lakers, a 109-105 win that they got significantly due to their ability to defend LeBron or to the fact that LeBron was sick and just didn't have a very good game out there. But the Suns, they've had some good wins. They obviously lost to the Lakers once, but they opened their season with a win over the Clippers in a 116-113 win, so a very close game. We'll see how things look in this one. I mean, in their win over the Lakers, guys, that close win, definitely got to give the Lakers some credit. They've been a tough out so far this season, and they've been winning plenty of games. We saw, what you would kind of expect to see here from the Phoenix Suns. A big day from Durant, 11 from 20 from the field, 2 of 6 from 3. Those 3-point shooting numbers for him could be a little bit better. He did have 4 blocks in the game, which is very impressive. It is noteworthy that Nurkic was not able to play very much of that game, posting a -20 out there. Just had no idea what to do with Anthony Davis. We saw Booker have a very good game. He put up 33 points. Bradley Beal, only 1 of 7 from 3, but he looked pretty solid. And I'm starting to hear lots of interest in the possibility of him coming off the bench, which would make a ton of sense for this team. But I also think Bradley Beal would probably throw a fit about that. Maybe he wouldn't. Who knows? I don't know what the guy thinks on a daily basis, but I don't know that he would necessarily love that. Tyus Jones doing a decent job, maybe not elite, but decent job of leading this team, in terms of being their starting point guard. 3 steals, 5 assists, 6 rebounds. He only had a single turnover in the game, but he did post a plus-minus rating of -13, so that's obviously a bit concerning. It was really the bench that went nuts here for the Suns, guys. We saw O'Neal and Dunn both playing really well in this game. Grayson Allen kind of trying to make his way back from injury. He went 1 of 2 from 3, fine, whatever. He did not play very many minutes in the game, but overall, I think we had to be pretty excited about what you're seeing from the Suns team so far if you are a Suns fan, but definitely some significant question marks out there, like if your 2 big guy options are Plumlee or Nurkic. How good is your big guy situation? So definitely problems to be monitored there for the Suns as they go on the road here to take on the Clippers, who are currently finishing up, or actually no, they're just heading into halftime there against the Portland Trailblazers. They're losing by a little bit, but the Clippers, an interesting team so far this year, guys. I mean, they 2-1 on the season, not a team that's come into the year with a lot of hype, although I'm hearing only positive things about that new arena. They do have a win over the floundering Denver Nuggets and a win over the Warriors, albeit in a game where Steph got hurt. We'll see how they're able to finish things up here against Portland, but doesn't feel great that they're going into that game trailing, into the halftime of that game trailing by 4. So we'll see how things finish up there in terms of the Clippers, injury report here. We obviously don't have a ton of clarity on who's going to be available for this game since their current game hasn't finished yet. So make sure you check back in that pinned comment and see how things are going there. We've seen Harden doing his best, impression of the old Harden, the James Harden experience. Definitely an interesting one this season. We'll see how things go down the stretch. Obviously, we're still very early on, but they've got some decent pieces on this team. I'm not necessarily in love with their bench unit per se, but this is a solid team overall, and Zubac has been very good at center. So that's a situation that could be questionable here going up against the Suns, as Zubac, but the Suns not having a lot of good post defenders, could be in for a big night. In terms of the bench, guys, nobody that I'm crazy excited about. We have seen very good stuff from Norman Powell at different times this season, so we'll see how things go here. Looking at the numbers that we have right now, guys, we got the Clippers -2.5. That can't possibly be right, but that's what we're seeing right now. It's posted at a couple of books. We got BetMGM putting out a line for it right now, and that's definitely a number that's going to change. So we'll see what real numbers we actually get out there. We got an over/under of 221.5 right now, so definitely, in terms of this over/under, I would be leaning a bit towards the over, even though we're going to have a kind of a tired Clippers team. So we'll see how things go there. If this ends up anything close to the Clippers being -2.5, I'll definitely be on the Suns and the points, but that's not going to happen, guys. We'll have to wait until we see a real number on this game to give you a real lean, but I think this is a pretty solid spot for the Phoenix Suns to have a nice game playing against a tired Clippers team that, is playing on back-to-back nights. Despite not having to travel, I don't know that James Harden is really built for those back-to-back nights right now. So we'll see how things go, but definitely leaning towards the Phoenix Suns. All the games we have for today, guys. Hit that like button for good luck on all of your bets and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Thanks for watching. You can click the link in the description to check out stumpthespread.com, and we will see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.